Welcome back. Again, my name is Jeffrey Proud, and I am the headmaster, I guess you'd call it, of the university at Eidetic U. And again, since you're already here, you know this, but the name of the site is eideticu.com, and we're having a seminar on May 2nd and 3rd in 2014 in Toronto, Canada, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. It's an international city and it is just gorgeous. You will love it there. Anyhow, that's when their seminar is going to be, and this is your first invitation to understanding of eidetic thinking. Let me get this out of the way. There's four aspects of eidetic thinking, and they consist of knowing yourself, and that's a very big one. What's your capacity? You know, who are you? Most people don't know who they are, and I'll give you a small example of that. In 1999, you can read some of my resume on the site. But just as an explanation, in 1999 I was a partner in an engineering business, and we did a lot of electronic design for people. We did a lot of mega projects. We designed entire gambling casinos that are multi stories high for cruise ships, spinning gigantic roulette wheels on large things that went multiple floors on these charter ship casinos. It was a magnificent project. We've also done things as wonderful as designing heart-lung machines for various companies. Anyhow, the bottom line in this story is we sold that business in 1999, and we're all blessed with a fair amount of capital, which was wonderful. It's actually what started this and one of my companies called Proud Foundation, which is dedicated towards actually educational pursuits and trying to improve American education, which in my mind is the key to America's success in the future. And we'll get into some of that, you know, what are the purposes of eidetic thinking. But anyhow, to make a long story short, at that point in time we had non-competing agreements involved, so we couldn't do that engineering business anymore, so I went to work as a teacher, my way of giving back in a way. And it was a wonderful experience. I was assigned to special ed, which was teaching small children who had some impediment to their learning process and were assigned to the special ed area. But I had a lot of physics in my life. In my past, I had worked a lot with computers. I was one of the original workers on the UNIVAC 2, which is a vacuum tube computer comprising a whole city block, and one of the earliest mainframe computers ever made after the ENIAC, which was the first real mainframe computer built for the United States government. Regardless of that, I had to teach these little kids. But I knew more about these little kids than most teachers do because of my background in engineering and physics and my work as a systems architect. Anyhow, I saw these little kids as something other than just a small kid needing to learn. What they were to me was mini supercomputers. You know, I knew that I was dealing with at least a 15 petaflop supercomputer in the brains of each one of these little kids. So it dawned on me that even at a reduced rate of learning, so these people were identified as someone that couldn't learn as fast, didn't have the IQ level of some of their peers, weren't picking up the subject matter. So what I did is I designed systems that worked with levels of eidetic thinking, which I described to you earlier as a pictorial or image structure. So I knew that the children learned by virtue of forming pictures. So I went to more of what would be considered Montessori type of learning, where I introduced these little kids to items that they could feel, touch, and relate to, and involve more of their senses than just their sight or their hearing or their being lectured to or whatever it was. Anyhow, and for mathematics, I used an abacus, and it was a wonderful teaching solution. I also involved computers so that these kids could learn essentially by repetitious involvement with the computer screen that would reward them for identifying certain sound structures and combinations thereof for phonics and things of early language learning. The net result of that was that these kids learned, and my opinion was, if a normal kid operates at, let's say, 10% of their brain capacity, which is kind of a scientific way of saying nobody uses all your brain, which is true, that let's say these kids were operating at 9%. Well, if I could get them to use their 9% more efficiently, they now became 10% kids, or maybe even 11% kids. Well, at 11%, they are operating at the level of their peers, right? If I could bump them to 12%, they'd actually outshine their peers. And that's kind of what happened. I got into a little bit of trouble because all of a sudden, these special ed kids, which were supposed to be slower than their peers, were all of a sudden starting to be better than their peers. Excuse me. All right, now, in eidetic thinking, the first thing that we show you, and I don't know if it's on the site yet, but it will be, is a video that shows what a human's capacity is. And what it is, it's called Powers of 10. And it's an old IBM film, dating back to the 70s, I believe, that shows a scene on a beach in Chicago. And it shows a picnic. And there you are in the camera looking down on this picnic at about a height of 10 meters. And then the next shot, you're at a height of 100 meters. So it's a factor of 10, larger. But now everything is smaller, a lot smaller, because you've raised the height of the camera picture. All right, and then it hops another one. So now you're at a factor of 1,000 meters. Then 10,000 meters. Then 100,000 meters. Then 1,000,000 meters. And what happens is, what you see now is you start to see, okay, first you see the picnic, then you see Lake Michigan in Chicago, the whole city of Chicago, then you see the state of Illinois and a few things, and then you see all of North America, then you see all of North America, South America, and the whole Earth. Then you pop back and you see from the standpoint of, let's say, the moon. Then you pop back and see the solar system, and you pop back and you see the galaxy, and you pop back and you see one galaxy amongst many galaxies. And you keep popping back, excuse me again, and you keep popping back into this world of lots, first of all, lots and lots of empty space. All right. Then you pop back and you start seeing these collections of galaxies all clumping together as you pop back into multi-millions of meters away from where you originally started. And eventually you pop back to the edge of the universe, which is what, 13.8 billion light years away from the original point you started at. And of course the Earth in this thing is just nothing. It's gone. You know, you've missed that a long time ago. And now you see the whole expanse of the universe. Now, then of course what happens in this Powers of 10 is it goes backwards, and it actually goes down to the the size of the picnic again, and then it goes the other way. It actually shows the guys and expands, and it shows the guy's hand, then it shows the guy's pores, then it shows the guy's capillaries and blood flow, and down to the molecular level where you see his blood vessels and his white and red blood cells. Then it pops down to the inside of cells and pops down all the way down to the atoms, and down to the area of electrons, down to the area of quarks, down to the area of waves, where there's actually nothing more than just the wave functions and things. So you get the idea here that we're amongst this power of 10, all right? And we exist in a world that's relatively small compared to all the things that are out there. The point, though, isn't the pictures and how grand this is and everything else. The point is this. The point is how good you are. How powerful is a mind when the mind can imagine the entire universe? It's the only thing that can. If you appreciate the power of your brain, you would be able to do things that people will be considered impossible. People are capable of magic. They just don't know it. And that's what eidetic thinking is. Eidetic thinking is a top-down kind of thinking where you consider things at their biggest levels. All right, now you get to the point where you start asking yourself questions like, could I take a step back and actually be outside of the universe? Well, physicists don't know the answer to that question. But in your imagination, you can do this. You can imagine what